I'll quickly mention this. The son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, Jonah Platt is the son's name. He is speaking out publicly against Rachel Zegler and blaming her for the film's catastrophic failure at the box office.
She destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie. The producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms.
In a shocking turn of events that flips the script on weeks of speculation surrounding Disney's legal strategy, fresh reports reveal that Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot are far from silent bystanders in the controversy. Instead, they're at the center of a brewing storm, one that now involves mounting refund demands tied to the disastrous performance of the Snow White remake. Once touted as a major pillar of Disney's live-action revival, the film instead became a lightning rod for backlash, struggling at the box office and igniting a firestorm across social media. What was expected to be a cinematic triumph has unraveled into a full-blown crisis. And yet, rather than quietly taking responsibility, something early reports hinted insiders might do, Disney's next move suggests a far more complex and calculated response.
There's a big focus on her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Reportedly pushing back fiercely against the company's attempts to recoupment of losses are the industry's greatest celebrities. This not only clarifies the more important fight under progress, but also highlights important elements influencing insiders as well as the broader public. It reminds us sharply that faced with enormous corporate demands, even well-known celebrities have their own strategies.
After one hell of a PR tour, Disney's live-action Snow White is finally, I know, you were wondering, it's going to be hitting movie theaters next week.
The change coincides with a storm for the Walt Disney Company. Originally thought to be the best example of a fairy tale adaptation, Disney has been struggling with a serious image crisis as their Snow White makeover received a critical response on a level few could have expected.
I can only hope that despite my flaws and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
she's a good actress,
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Wow. The ego on this girl is ridiculous. Wow.
Early worries about the direction of the production exploded into a full-scale frenzy, with critical voices, casual viewers, and fervent fans asking how a franchise so fundamental could end up seeming unidentifiable. This emphasizes the wider consequences and underscores important elements that fit how this problem affects the audience as well as the stakeholders.
And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? This is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child.
Pointing to the prospect that artistic visions, once untouchable in the eyes of the public, may now be subject to stricter examination than ever before. Against this background, the stakes have shot to hitherto unheard-of heights. Along with launching a famous series, the original 1937 animated masterpiece helped define Disney's worldwide reputation.
Look no further than what Disney is doing with their woke, DEI, feminist agenda.
In contrast, this current excursion has provoked so widespread scorn that critics fear it could damage brand devotion passed down through numerous generations. The Walt Disney Company's higher-ups are allegedly dismayed by the scale of the criticism. Yet in a stunning move, sources claim Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot have no intention of simply becoming the convenient scapegoats.
Tell me if this is attractive to you. Like, does this, imagine you invested into her being the face of the movie and she's the main character and she's trying to promote the movie. Would this make you want to go watch the movie when she's starring in it and she's the main character?
Their argument appears to be that the firm should look inward at its overarching creative decisions, rather than single out the female artists. This shows the broader implications and reinforces crucial aspects that resonate with how this issue affects stakeholders and the audience alike, demonstrating how power relations between top-tier talent and established studios might be altering.
She destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie.
Individuals privy to internal discussions allege that although Disney's legal team was first looking over contracts to discover if Zegler and Gadot infringed any promotional or brand protection agreements, The actor's own representatives have surfaced with a counter-assault. They believe that any words perceived critical of the original masterwork were either misunderstood, boho, or exaggerated by a social media climate geared for controversy.
Producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms.
Furthermore, they purportedly contend that Disney's marketing tactics and script revisions did more to alienate fans than any personal remark the two women gave. This illustrates the broader consequences overall and reinforces key themes that relate with how this issue affects stakeholders and the public equally, underlining the fragile balance between personal expression in interviews and the corporate narrative a major studio seeks to manage.
Still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarves. So we'll guarantee no employment for little people while getting rid of this other component that warranted CGI. It was the worst decision they could possibly make.
At the heart of the controversy remains Rachel Zegler's reputation for candidness during press tours. Some of her views, including calling the iconic Prince character frightening and/or claiming that key plot components were outmoded, went viral on many platforms, provoking indignation among longtime lovers of the original masterwork.
He's been sabotaging this film for years at this point, all in this sort of pursuit of entitlement.
Yet sources close to Zegler claim she feels she was following directions to put the modern slant on the story and that her statements were taken out of context. They say that if Disney sought to market the Snow White remake as a sweeping makeover, it cannot then hold her responsible for promoting those very changes. This illustrates the broader consequences, and stresses crucial aspects that relate with how this issue impacts our stakeholders.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
And the viewers alike, highlighting that a star's advertising script sometimes reflects a bigger corporate plan rather than personal revolt. Gal Gadot, generally more shy in public settings, finds herself stuck in a separate but comparable bind. Known for playing strong, iconic characters, she was once hailed as a good choice for the evil queen. But when questions arose regarding the abrupt tonal and narrative shifts,
they don't know what merit is because they get paid whether they succeed or not.
Godot's careful attitude to press interviews left some corporate leaders upset. Now, according to insiders, Gadot is turning the tables, alleging the absence of unifying vision within the production house produced an environment where no single voice could sustain a coherent message approach. She and her team allegedly challenge any attempts to depict her as resistant, maintaining that the actual breakdown lay in the production's scattered advertising efforts.
For Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen because there's another one in town.
This illustrates the broader ramifications, and reinforces important themes that relate with how this issue affects stakeholders and the audience equally, throwing a light on how fractured media outreach can feed greater impressions of a project's failure. Even before it received wide release, the picture encountered warning indications in the form of test screenings that suggested considerable concern over radical modifications to the story.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, we cast a guy in the movie.
Many long-standing aficionados decried the lack of the original masterpiece's whimsical atmosphere, replaced by current moral messages and modified on-screen personas that appear to overshadow the fairy tale charm. Zegler and Godot say that such extensive creative decisions were outside their control, a claim bolstered by leaked internal emails emphasizing that top executives recognize the dwarf's reinvented role might perplex the public.
Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's how.
And you wonder why people are turning from this stuff in droves, right? Like that the original Prince was stalking her. I don't even really remember what Snow White was about either. The midgets gangbanged her, whatever it was a wholesome family film.
This shows the broader consequences and reinforces crucial aspects that resonate with how this issue affects stakeholders and the audience alike, demonstrating that although stars can shape public opinion, the structural features of a remake frequently rest completely on studio shoulders. When first glances and trailers eventually emerged, unhappiness became a global trend.
Now they've turned it into woke trash. Check this out from Men Wokeness. Disney's Snow White said that harm should befall Trump and his voters. Do not see this film.
With social networks filled with critiques alleging the remake had wandered too far from its source, critics were conflicted between appreciating progressive reinterpretations and decrying the loss of the original masterpiece's heart. Hashtags condemning the changes increased, and many long-standing Disney devotees voiced sentiments of betrayal. Although the corporation had set hopes on star power, now that box office results have failed to meet expectations, Zach Harker, Rachel Zegler, and Gal Gadot are poised to make a forceful defense, saying that no actor could salvage a film so at odds with its roots.
So she's basically a violent, hysterical lunatic who wants babies. She's very concerned that her daughter will have to give birth to a child, which generally grandmothers think is a fantastic thing for their daughters. I don't think Trump is doing any forced impregnations.
This shows the broader consequences and reinforces crucial themes that resonate with how this issue affects stakeholders and the public equally, underlining how brand reputation might rest on staying faithful to the essence of a cherished classic. Tensions reportedly rose inside Disney's executive suites, where nervous stakeholders demanded explanations for the film's underperformance. Merchandise related to the production languished in retailers.
Just why are the worst people constantly empowered in our society? It is going away, but it doesn't go away overnight.
And streaming schedules were changed to steer attention toward other impending films. According to various reports, Disney first floated the idea of demanding compensation from the key actors to offset these commercial failures. That idea, however, has since been faced with fierce criticism. Zegler and Gadot's representatives say that shifting blame to the on-screen performer is a diversion from corporate failures. This illustrates the broader consequences and underlines crucial aspects that resonate with how this issue impacts stakeholders and the audience equally. Addressing the tough topic of whether a studio can recoup investment losses by faulting the very skilled employed to breathe life into a film, observers observe that this unexpected resistance from the stars underscores a greater upheaval in show business culture. Once upon a time, prominent production houses often absorbed criticism rather than risk confrontational ties with their own headliners. Now, with social media offering actors direct access to the public, the old power dynamics are shifting. While Disney officials likely had genuine economic concerns, hundreds of millions were at stake. Zegler and Gadot's readiness to contest any refunds or financial penalties implies that collaboration may have transformed into confrontation. This highlights the broader unilateral studio dominance in the narrative may be waning. Legal observers monitoring this standoff remark on how rare it remains for a studio to legally accuse its stars of hurting brand image, especially after it had hailed their casting selections. However, some say that Disney felt it had little alternatives given the startling extent of the negative reaction and the real-world ramifications of lost income and degraded family confidence. The most surprised turn, they argue, is how directly the leads are responding, presenting themselves as advocates for honest storytelling, who merely executed the business mission. This illustrates the broader consequences and stresses crucial aspects that resonate with how this issue impacts stakeholders and the audience equally, shining light on the dangerous balance between a performer's public persona and the wide-reaching authority of a corporate giant. In parallel, Disney's whole cinematic trajectory has been under the microscope. A spate of Marvel spin-offs delivering mediocre profits, coupled with unsuccessful attempts to resuscitate classic franchises, has fueled criticism that the entertainment juggernaut may be losing the spark that once made it invincible. The Snow White remake, originally presented as a reinvention that would revere the classic while updating outmoded narratives, has instead seemed to exemplify numerous complaints about placing new messages above the underlying emotional core. For their part, Zegler and Gadot believe that any narrative faults arise from corporate decisions made long before they joined the project. This shows the broader consequences and reinforces crucial aspects that resonate with how this issue affects stakeholders and the audience equally, exemplifying the conflicts that can occur when treasured source material is subjected to considerable alteration. Though a number of defenders embrace the film's more contemporary viewpoints, the great majority of Disney's casual viewers and dedicated devotees have hurled harsh critiques at how the production was both conceived and marketed. Skeptics increasingly claim that the public relations mishandling, together with the film's reticence to accept its changes from the original masterwork, actually done more harm than any specific interview comment. Zegler and Gadot's present refusal to take financial accountability increases the gulf, leaving many to question whether the corporate juggernaut actually understands its audience. This shows the broader consequences and reinforces crucial aspects that resonate with how this issue affects stakeholders and the audience alike, exposing the danger of underestimating the emotional commitment fans have to decades-old stories. Hastily formed damage control methods appear insufficient. Disney spokespeople have offered little more than cryptic words hinting at creative flexibility and strong storytelling choices. Meanwhile, fan calls for a transparent explanation of how the remake gone astray remain unanswered. The two major performers have, in essence, grabbed this vacuum of knowledge to define their own version of events, claiming they provided what was expected of them and more. This highlights the broader implications and underlines key points that resonate with how this issue impacts stakeholders and the audience alike, accentuating the paradox in which the studio silence may actually strengthen the actor's stance, since they can point to unclear guidelines from higher-ups. Among admirers, the emotional tenor spans from melancholy to downright fury. Many commented that the Snow White remake serves as a sign of a fundamental shift away from the Disney they always admired, one that kept timeless storylines without overshadowing them with over-manufactured modern touches. Now, the spectacle of the film stars rebuking the refund requests shows that a larger breach is occurring, one that places artistic talent and corporate imperatives on a collision path. This underscores the broader consequences and reinforces crucial aspects that relate with how this issue affects stakeholders and the audience alike, highlighting the notion that even icons of family entertainment can face extremely public conflicts that destroy the apparent magic they once possessed. Questions regarding the future steps persist. Will Disney formally press for financial recompense in the courts, or will cooler heads prevail in private negotiations? Will Zegler and Godot amplify their stance, maybe exposing behind-the-scenes details that transfer culpability onto Disney's leadership? Will audiences choose to forgive, forget, or boycott future live-action endeavors? One certainty is that the Snow White remake, originally thought to be a landmark in Disney's current repertory, is now recognized for how significantly it deviated from the original blueprint and created a dispute between corporate authority and marquee actors.